Now, Sports Talk with Broads. Here's Hunter Brody.
I'm so tired when it comes to this basketball team. I'll be honest with you. I don't think I'm at the point anymore where I'm screaming insanely, pulling my hair out, throwing the TV through the wall. I'm over it. It's almost like I'm waiting for this team to put me out of my misery. There's no need to get so disgusted to the point where you lose sleep over this squad anymore. It is what it is. It's that simple. This team, we all understand what this team is by now. There's no reason to think it's automatically going to change. So with that mindset, when they lose a game to the Boston Celtics, when they have a lead going into that fourth quarter and they have that 3-point lead early in the fourth quarter, why should I bother thinking that they're going to find a way to somehow score all these points in the fourth and outscore their opponent in the fourth and find ways to run good offense in the fourth? It hasn't happened all season long, and then you already don't have someone like Ben Simmons defensively, which is a huge loss if you didn't notice that in the first half when Jayson Tatum was doing his thing. Well, then you don't understand the game of basketball. But why would I assume that things would be different this time around? That's why I don't think this team is winning the series. That's why when I look at Vegas and when I see the odds on the Boston Celtics to win the series, they are telling me something. The Celtics are going to win the series. And I thought Joel Embiid needed to be more assertive. He needed to get the ball late. He needed to take more shots all around. We all claimed from the jump, if Joel Embiid would dominate, then the Sixers have some sort of chance. Now, what percentage is it that the Sixers would come out on top? I don't have the answer for you. Because even if Joel Embiid does dominate, there's a chance that they would lose the game too. But if the Sixers were going to win, they would need him to dominate. And there's no way for him to dominate when he only takes 15 shots. When after he has a hot first quarter, he barely gets any shots in the second quarter, and they go away from him. And they go away from him late in the game as well. It doesn't make any sense for Tobias Harris to be the guy who couldn't make a damn shot. It literally has no chance of working out in a positive way for the 76ers by going away from the only legit insane weapon that you have in Joel Embiid late in the game. So a lot of issues, from Brett Brown to the turnovers to the offensive boards allowed. Now, if you want to take a minor positive out of this, they were in this game, even though they turned the ball over 18 times and allowed 16 offensive boards. They were still somehow in this game. It was a close game that came down to the wire, essentially. So they were still in it with all of that going against them. With Joel Embiid not having a monster insane night. They were still in it. Here's another positive for you. Matisse Thybulle on Jayson Tatum. It was a difference maker in that second half. When Matisse Thybulle was on Jayson Tatum, things did change. Now, is that going to change the entire series? I don't think so. I don't think that the Philadelphia 76ers have enough firepower to do it. But I think moving forward, if you're going to make an adjustment, well, that's an adjustment you can make. I liked Al Horford getting the nod in this one, going up against his former team, being the veteran, having some length, and I didn't think that he'd be able to shut down Jayson Tatum one-on-one, but I thought team defense-wise, you could hold him to a reasonable number, and obviously I was wrong. Now, it wasn't as if Al Horford was on Jayson Tatum throughout that entire first half, and that was the matchup that got picked apart. You saw not Jason Richardson. I do that sometimes. You saw Josh Richardson on him. You saw Tobias Harris at times on him. You saw some unique, different looks throughout, and I thought that's what the Sixers would do, throw different looks at him. But once they put Matisse on him, it was a different ball game. That second half was a totally different game from Jayson Tatum. So maybe you do insert Matisse Thybulle at this point. I was okay with giving Al Horford the nod originally and saying you can adjust from there. Well, I think Brett Brown realized that, hey, you can adjust from there. because Matisse Thybulle did have a huge impact in those minutes that he played. And he played a significant amount of minutes. Good for him. But that just shows you the style of play in the playoffs, which is slowed down, can benefit someone like Matisse Thybulle. And it can hurt someone like Furkan Korkmaz. Did you see those 7 minutes? Did you try and watch him create space? Watching him try to create space was hilarious. He couldn't even move a centimeter without a defender being right in his face. He couldn't create 1 millimeter of space to get any sort of shot off. And it's not like those 7 minutes was the difference in the Sixers winning or not. I just find it funny that I claimed that there's no way that the style of play in the playoffs would benefit someone like Furkan Korkmaz, and you saw how pathetic it really was. There's no way, unless there's some major change to the offense, that Furkan's going to be able to get these wide open looks. One of the reasons why Furkan did get some awesome looks was because Ben Simmons also created those looks for him as well, and you lose that. I would have loved to seen Ben Simmons on Jayson Tatum, by the way. That would have been unreal. And then you could have utilized Matisse Thybulle either on Tatum when Ben Simmons was on the bench, or Matisse Thybulle and somebody else, a Jaylen Brown, a Kemba Walker, and that could have changed the game even more. I'm so disappointed that Ben isn't involved, and it changed the way that I feel about this series. It's not fun. It seems inevitable what's going to happen. And to be fair, it wasn't clean basketball for the Sixers when Ben Simmons was in play. So I started this off by saying, why would I expect things to change? And when Ben Simmons was involved, it was still ugly. And that is a very fair point. But the Sixers clearly have a better chance to win this series with Ben involved than without Ben involved. And I want to see him in playoff moments because I want to see him take steps throughout his career and watch him groom into the Ben Simmons that I think he can be, and I was stolen and robbed of that happening, and now instead I have to watch this, which is not entertaining whatsoever. This episode of Sports Talk with Broads is sponsored by Orbit Energy and Power, and with over 20 years of experience in the solar industry, they are home to your solar experts in residential and commercial projects. They also provide water purification systems, backup energy services, battery storage, and more. So make sure you check out their information. If you're looking to upgrade your home, it's in the description. Joel Embiid has to be more assertive, though. Like, hey, give me the damn ball. Hey, give me the damn ball. Take over. And there were times when the Celtics played it perfectly. He'd be in the post, and you would see the defender come over to help, and he would wait for the right moment, and then he would swipe, and he'd get the hands in there. Joel Embiid was a problem when it came to those turnovers. And it wasn't just Joel Embiid. I think the Celtics played them great defensively, and they created all sorts of havoc for that team. This team couldn't find the right passing lanes, and if they did have the right passing lanes, they tried to force it, and they tried to thread the needle in certain moments, and they waited too long, and the Celtics were all over the place when it came to getting their hands in lanes and making sure that they were able to get on Joel Embiid. So I think that happening to Joel hurt the mindset of Brett Brown late, and he didn't want to utilize Joel Embiid late in those moments because he was turning the ball over. And one, I'm mad at Joel Embiid for turning the ball over. You are going to have to, one, either find your teammates and hit the open man when they do come at you like that, or two, get through it. Fight through it, get to the rack, get fouled, get to the free throw line more than you did. Even though we got to the charity stripe about 12 times, get there more, put them in foul trouble, and find a way. So it's either find your teammates, make the right pass, properly get it there, or get fouled and go to the rim hard. So it's that. Or two, you got to live with your top dog. That's how basketball works. Every team has their guy. And with Ben Simmons being out, Joel Embiid right now is the ultimate guy for the 76ers. You need to live and die by him. So if he fails late, then he fails late. I'd rather fail late with Joel Embiid than try somebody else, than give the ball to any other player for them to take shots. I want it to go through the man. That's how this sport works. You go through your top players. You go through your stars on each team, and you live and die by what they do. If they fail to execute, then they fail to execute, but at least you can sleep at night saying, I went to Joel Embiid late. I put the ball in Joel Embiid's hands late down low in the post. And by the way, speaking of going to him late down low in the post, well, not going down low to him in the post, if you caught Jim Lynam, the coach, on the post-game show afterwards, he was fired up with that beard and all. He was pissed off and disgusted, and he was really angry that they did not get him down low on that block late in the game. And it is reality. That needs to happen. Now, you saw times where Joel Embiid was frustrated because his teammates weren't getting him the ball. He was there, hey, and the teammates weren't giving him the ball, and then the ball rotated over to the other side, and that's when Tobias Harris would have the ball and put up an ugly-looking shot. And I expected more out of Tobias Harris. He was very active and strong throughout those bubble games, and I always said that those bubble games mean nothing because they don't correlate to what the postseason game is all about, and I was very true, as you can see with multiple players. But with Tobias, he was so aggressive. He had a different mindset. I'm going to be aggressive. I'm going to go to the free throw line. He was not good enough in this basketball game. Okay, so he had more assists than he normally does. He needs to be better offensively. You need more. But ultimately, this goes on Joel Embiid and the lack of domination, and whether that's some on him and some on his teammates and some on Brett Brown. Reality is he wasn't dominant enough to win this game, but you need more out of Tobias. You need way more out of Al Horford, who was minus 18 in 30-plus minutes. I think you need more out of Josh Richardson. He scored a decent amount of points, but he also shot the ball a lot. Josh Richardson finished with 18 points, 17 shots. So the Sixers had that 15-0 run into the fourth to take the lead, and once they had that three-point lead, it was an 18-5 run, and they shot 29% in the fourth, which is what they do. That's who they are. This is how it works. So I don't see the reason to get all frustrated and lose your mind at this point, because this is who they have been. And I know the fire Brett Brown train is on another level at the moment because of it being the postseason and it being intensified and all of that. I feel like that's wasted energy. It's going to happen. The Sixers are going to underachieve. They're going to have to make some moves, and they're going to have to address the situation. Firing Brett Brown isn't going to happen today. It's not going to happen tomorrow, and it's not going to happen the next day, and it's not going to happen before this series ends. So the whole scream, get rid of this guy, we need him out of town, this guy stinks, he's the reason why they're awful, it's wasted energy. They're going to underachieve, and from there, there's going to be change. It's going to happen. So the outrage, I just don't understand it, because it's going to happen. What you want is going to happen. So just relax. The Sixers will put us out of the misery soon. I said Celtics in 6, and I still think the Sixers do find a way to win a couple games, 2 games, but it's going to be the Celtics who come out on top. Only time will take us out of this pain and horrible watch when it comes to this team. Looking at someone like Shake Milton, I'm just going down the list and looking at how this team performed. He started out struggling, and he found his rhythm. He found his groove. He created more offensively, and it looked like he got more confident in his game after a tougher start. Now, Kemba Walker on the other side, he finished with 19 points, but he shot the ball 16 times. So it wasn't as if Kemba Walker was some dominating force out there. He did dance around a bit and get to some of his spots and hit some shots. But with Kemba Walker, I thought for Shake Milton and what he was in this game, he wasn't some dumpster fire by any means. Jaylen Brown, he definitely provided some spark and brought it on both ends of the floor. And with about 4 minutes left, he knocked down a big-time three. He also pretended that he got destroyed from Al Horford when Al Horford had that flagrant foul. You knew once they went to the replay booth that he was going to get that flagrant foul, but wow, was that awful. And speaking of Al Horford, how about that jam, that monster putback where he went, underneath the basket. I thought that was hilarious, and I'm sitting there looking on Twitter for somebody to tweet that out with the video form from a good angle so we can utilize that for memes and GIFs and things of that nature. So I couldn't find any after the game. I need to go back. Maybe someone has posted it to this point, but I know I'm going to use that for something. He sure was hyped, but he needs to figure it out because this isn't good enough from Al Horford. That spurt that happened during that run in that third quarter when Joel Embiid was on the bench, by the way, same with Jayson Tatum, but when Joel Embiid was on the bench, it was a nice run led by that unit and Al Horford, but it's not good enough. Minus 18, you need way more, and I wonder if someone like Mike Scott gets more run. Mike Scott had 2 minutes of play, but if you're looking at that position, if Al Horford's too slow and not getting it done, is that somebody you throw out there? At this point, you're going to have to try something new. You got to go with a different philosophy. You have to try to change what went down in this game. So could it be much worse? There's not many options, really. It's not like they have so many options in the world to go to. Realistically, it comes down to the top dogs perform. I'm more pissed off by Joel Embiid not getting the shots. Alec Burks getting the same amount of shots as him. Come on, that can't happen. Tobias, Josh Richardson, taking around the same amount of shots as Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid should have 3 million shot attempts in this game because he's getting so damn low. And you know what? Maybe not 3 million, maybe 2 million because he'd be getting fouled and they wouldn't count his field goal attempts and he'd have 1 million free throws. How about that? It should have been all through Joel Embiid the entire game. And even when they bring that defensive intensity where you could see them waiting to pounce at the right time, you have to adjust yourself, realize what they're doing, either find your teammate or go in another direction. And I feel as if the Sixers are going to game plan to properly move the ball based off of the Celtics doing that, and they're not even going to do that again the next game. They're going to find a way to mess with the Sixers mentally and maybe go with a different method, so the Sixers are going to plan for it to happen, and it won't even happen. We'll see if it plays out that way. I have some phone calls. Let's react to your phone calls, and you can call the 24/7 Anytime hotline at 856-442-9805 and leave your message so we can react to you on the podcast. Before we do that, though, support for Sports Talk with Broads is sponsored by Manscaped, who is best in men's below-the-belt grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. They obsess over their technology developments to provide you the best tools for your grooming experience. There is nothing worse than getting in the shower before a big date, before you're going out with your significant other, and you're shaving down there to make sure you are properly looking good. Zip! You get cut and you start bleeding. Well, you don't have to worry about that with the Lawnmower 3.0 because of Manscaped's advanced skin-safe technology. Not only that, you could do it in the shower, and there's LED lights which illuminates grooming areas for a closer and more precise trimming. Don't forget about the 7,000 RPM motor with quiet stroke technology. Trim that junk of yours. If you are listening to me right now, I want you to experience it firsthand for yourself. Your balls will thank you. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code BROD at manscaped.com. That is 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use code BROD. All right. Let's kick this bad boy off and hear what you have to say. Real quick, I just thought about this. Gordon Hayward left the game going to get an MRI on that ankle. He's been through a rough past. I mean, I don't want something like this to happen to anybody, but especially someone who's already been through a really bad injury before. I hope he's okay. This might change the series. That is a loss. Gordon Hayward is definitely a loss for this Celtics team. It could change the series. We'll wait to hear more information on, the damage and how long he could possibly be out for, but it didn't look good. The replay looked ugly. It made me cringe. It's really unfortunate. I really don't wish injury upon anyone, and seeing it happen like that to someone who already went through trauma with a big injury, it's really disappointing just from, an athlete's perspective, because I've been there before. It really is unfortunate.
Hey, bro. So I think it was a bummer that we lost this game. Obviously, I mean, you could blame the refs. Honestly, I think it kind of went both ways, but that flagrant foul on Al Horford really shifted the game. I think he was kind of the heart of the team, and when he was making big plays, everyone was kind of rallying, and we went off on some scoring streaks. But really, it's the turnovers are killing us. Like, it's unbelievable watching this team handle the ball. Another reason why we are really missing Ben right now, but I think like we did after that horrible Pacers game, we can wind back on the turnovers and get in a good rhythm. And the other thing is Matisse did a really good job of denying Tatum the ball. I think he had like 7, 8 points in the second half versus the 25 or whatever in the first. So I think that if we just lock up Tatum in the first half, reduce the turnovers, we have a real chance of winning this series. Thanks.
I thought it was a horrible call, that flagrant call, but I don't know if that changed the outcome of the game. I thought this Sixers team was going to lose regardless. Now, you mentioned Matisse Thybulle, and I think there's something there. I think you got to give that a shot. You got to put him on Tatum for a whole game and see how it goes. I'm not against throwing maybe Josh Richardson on him just for a spurt here and there to maybe give him a different look, to give him a unique vibe. But ultimately, I would love to see Matisse Thybulle just stick him for a serious amount of time and see what can happen in a full length of a game. Maybe that knocks Al Horford out of the starting lineup, and that throws someone like Matisse in. But it worked. It was effective. Can it stay effective? That's the question.
What's up, bros? How's it going? I'm calling in after this Sixers game, after game one, and we need to fire Brett Brown. Simple as that. Joel shot the ball 15 times for the whole game, and Tatum shot the ball 13 times in the first half. That is an issue that goes on the coach and him not getting Joel the ball in the post, even when he's calling for it. Second, we've had way too many turnovers, and that's why we lost this game. And I got Celtics in 5. Peace.
I got Celtics in 6, and you are right that Brett Brown should say, hey, let's go. Let's go to the big man. Let's get it to Embiid. Let him go to work. At the same time, hey, let's go, players. Get him the basketball. So it is both. I do think that it is both. It's on the players and it's on the coach. If you see that it's not happening, specifically late, you got to make sure it does happen and you get your best player the ball in his hands, and from there, you see what happens. But you want your best player to be the one playmaking, whether it's scoring, whether it's finding a teammate. He has to be the one to make the decision. If it's the wrong one, then so be it. But I'd rather be the wrong one with Joel Embiid than be the wrong one with Tobias, or that's the same person. Toby, Josh Richardson, Alec Burks. It can't be what happened in this one. It just can't be.
What's going on, bros? Tough loss from the Sixers tonight. It always sucks to lose to the Celtics. I thought they battled well concerning the circumstances, concerning Ben's injury, but they just overmatched tonight. Jayson Tatum especially just torched us tonight, and it's a real shame that we didn't have the first overall pick in the 2017 draft, because having a talent like him would really have been special. Oh, wait, we did have the first pick, and we wasted it on Markelle Fultz instead. And if this team doesn't end up winning a championship with this current core after tanking for 4+ years, not taking Tatum and taking Fultz instead will probably be the biggest mistake that caused all of it.
I don't want to go down that road tonight. Really, I don't, and I'll keep it like this. First off, the process was already a positive because, as you can see, the outrage by majority of people all season long, they care now, okay? Expectations changed, and people actually care about all these 82 regular season games, and they're not an 8th seed team like the Orlando Magic or the Brooklyn Nets. They are a team that can compete, right? I mean, they actually compete right now. They're going through injuries, and there's frustration, but ultimately with Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, they got the two guys that make people care about this team, so it does matter. It does matter now with this team, and it didn't before. Fultz was the right pick at the time. All right, Fultz was the right pick at the time. People don't like to admit it because now hindsight's in play. Fultz was the right pick at the time. Combo guard, playing with these two guys. Jayson Tatum, now you know he's this player. Markelle Fultz forgetting how to shoot a basketball. You can't know that that's going to happen. You can't project what you saw in Markelle Fultz in college would be where he is now. You can't project that. What Markelle Fultz did in college was absurd. It was insane. He was awesome. He was phenomenal. It's not the Sixers' fault that the wonkiness that happened. At the time, it was the right pick. It's just unfortunate that it didn't work out that way, and it's easy to say that now when you see how it all played out. And by the way, Danny Ainge likes to play this card that, Jayson Tatum, we're some genius crew because of what we did. If you knew that Jayson Tatum was going to be the player that he is today, you don't allow two teams to pick before you. So he might play that card like, I knew this was all going to happen. This was my master plan. No, it wasn't. Because Jayson Tatum, his skill level, you don't allow two teams to pick before you if you knew he was going to be this special. So I am not buying that at all.
Hey, bro. So the Sixers just dropped game one. This is my, initial reaction. So obviously it was an up and down game. Celtics went on big runs. We went at, a 15-0 run at one point. Just kind of unfortunate because when it was 86-83, we kind of shut down for a while. Sixers kind of clawed their way back into it, and obviously the Burks miss for the foul line. But the series isn't over by any means. Yes, Boston, does lead the series at this point. Obviously, yeah, but I don't think it's over by any means. But if they want to turn this thing around, they have got to limit the turnovers. I know they improved that in the second half, but they just got to limit the turnovers. If they had limited the turnovers, they could have easily won this game. Just flat out easily, they could have won this game. And it's really disappointing, but we'll just have to see how everything pans out.
Optimism. It's not over yet, he says. Sadly, I don't have any optimism. And I do think the Sixers are going to win a couple games in the series, but they don't have enough firepower. They don't have enough. The Celtics are a better team. They have better flow. They have better rhythm. And the Sixers are all over the place right now. Mentally terrible. They don't have that it factor as a unit, and that will be the death of them. Not only that, they lose somebody like Ben Simmons who changes the game defensively. It is what it is. They're going to have to be unique and find ways to grind it out. You want the positive? Somehow they were still winning. And they did battle hard. They did. They hung in there. They battled hard. But it's not about battling hard anymore. The offensive rebounds bothered me. I don't know how you can get that outworked on the glass. You're how much taller than them? Box out. Box out and grind. Overall, as a game, they did hang in there until the end. But when you just look at the rebounding aspect, rebounding is about work ethic and hustle and will, wanting it more than the other guy. And there were plenty of moments where the Celtics clearly wanted it more. The effort level, way more. And it shouldn't be that way. 16-0 boards, that's pathetic. Really. It's disturbing. So many times where I saw 3 Sixers underneath the basket, yet here comes a Celtic grabbing it. Or there goes a Celtic jumping 3 inches higher to make sure they come down with that basketball, and they'll kick it out, and they'll reset. By the way, how much slower was that game? I've said it so many damn times. The game is not the same as anything you see in the season. It's not even close to the same game. The difference is, though, when you have your sets, the Sixers seem to be clueless, and the Celtics seem to have better flow with their sets, and that's why this team is irritating, and they are who they are. So there you have it. The Sixers are down 0-1 in the series. What is coming next? What are the changes going to be? How are they going to attack Game 2? Will they split the first 2 games? I was going to say, will they split the first 2 in Boston? But then, of course, we remember they're in a bubble in Orlando, in Walt Disney World, because there's a pandemic. Thank you all so much for listening, and I will see you next time.